hard to remember.
Is it a little bit hard to?
It's kind of hard to remember exactly when, and also I try to block this out for so long. So.
Why?
Why?
You should block it.
Because it's just sad. Like,
when this was happening, how come at any point you didn't run out and get the cops or tell a neighbor, 911?
being that I'm a felon, no matter the situation, I would still be in the position I'm in because I'm a felon. They wouldn't believe the story I would tell. And automatically, with my run-ins with the officers or the law period, no matter what, I'm guilty. No matter what, I was going to come to prison. So it didn't matter if I got help or not. And at that point, I was afraid because I was threatened. And I didn't want nothing else to happen to anybody else because I seen he was real. He killed somebody, you know. So in all reality, the reason why I say it is because that's my cousin.
Is that why you helped?
Yeah.
You talked a little bit about that bag, that trash bag, that her body parts went in, and then that it was twisted or turned.
It was just like twisted and in that basket.
I'm going to show you States 93. Is this what you're talking about?
Yes.
Do you know what this black thing is?
No.
Do you know how this got there?
No.
Did you put this there?
No.
You talked a little bit earlier about putting clothes back on Victoria after you were sort of, or before you wrapped her. Do you remember what you put on her?
I believe pink pajama pants and a pink top.
I'm going to show you what's admitted as 169. Do you recognize this room?
Yes.
What room is this?
That's Victoria's room.
Do you recognize this container, this baby wipes
No.
container? Do you remember seeing that at all ever?
No.
Is that yours?
No.
Do you know how it got in this room?
No, I don't.
What about these books right here?
Those are my books, but those were my purse. I don't know how they got in that room.
Did you take those in this room at all that day?
No.
Not even earlier?
No.
Where did you have those books that day? Tell us each room they were in.
They were in my purse, and my purse, I kept it either in Matthew's room or next to the couch.
And then when you had it, when you were writing?
And when I was writing, I had it with me, and that was in Michelle's room and in the living room.
And in the living room?
Yes.
So you don't know how either of these items got here?
No.
Do you know if Victoria's body or her arms or anything else was wiped down with anything?
No.
So once you kind of discovered, or once you discovered your cousin cutting her, tell me how your mental state shifted, or what happened?
I just got so scared, like frozen scared. I didn't know what to do. I was just like on autopilot. I was just going with whatever was happening because I was just scared.
Did you help him cut her in the middle?
No.
What did you do?
I didn't cut at all.
Did you let him keep going?
No.
Why not?
Because I just figured it's a mess to cut up a body. Why don't we just get rid of the body, not make a bigger mess?
Did you take charge at that point?
Yes.
How so?
How so? I cleaned up the crime scene.
While you were cleaning, and when you say the crime scene, are you talking about her room?
Yes.
I'm going to show you States 158. This might be a little bit of a glare, but is this the carpet that you cleaned?
Yes.
How big of an area did you clean?
I would say about 2 feet by 4 feet.
And did the defendant know you were doing that?
Yes.
What was his sort of role while you were doing that?
He was in the room with Michelle.
Were you both still trying to keep Michelle from finding out what happened?
Objection, leaving.
Your pretty sustained. What was his role in Michelle's room?
To keep her from coming out.
Was there a lot of blood on this carpet?
2 puddles. It didn't seem like a lot at the time. I just wanted to get it up. I didn't realize how much was there or what. I just needed to get it up.
You said you were using a pole from the kitchen.
Yes.
What did you do with the stuff you were using?
I rinsed it out and I put it in the sink, I believe.
What about the knife? How many knives were there?
I believe there was 2.
What happened? Who had those?
I took them all I believe I took them into the kitchen with the bowl and stuff, but I'm not too sure. I can't really remember.
Do you remember if there were any pieces of flesh on there?
No.
Did you clean them?
No.
Who cleaned them?
He must have cleaned them when he left the room because I don't remember cleaning the knives. I remember taking the bowl back out, but not the knives.
Do you know how clothing items ended up, from Victoria, some of her clothing ended up in the kitchen trash can?
No.
Did anything leave the apartment during this night? Did either you or the defendant take any garbage out or paper towels or wipes or anything out?
No.
So once she's wrapped and put in the bathtub and you've cleaned the carpet, what was the plan that you had with the defendant?
We were gonna go dump the body up on Cherie's Road, up in the Mesa.
And what happened at that point?
I lost it.
Why?
Why? The fact of everything that happened to Victoria. I just couldn't handle it mentally, and I was afraid of coming back to prison, and I felt I was gonna go back to prison, so I might as well make it worth it. And I was gonna kill Fabian and Michelle as well.
Why would killing them make it worth it?
Because I was already gonna go down for a murder.
Was there something that happened? When did you next see Michelle?
Huh?
When did you next see Michelle?
When I hit her with the iron.
Where was that?
As she was coming out of her room after I took Fabian's phone and Michelle's phone from them.
Let's back up and tell us a little bit about that. So tell us about taking their phones. Where were they and how did you take them?
They were in Michelle's rooms, and
Hang on 1 second. Ms. Kelley. Okay, Ms. Kelley, you need to speak up a little bit, and I think it was better when you were kind of holding your mask.
okay, like this.
So they were in her room. What were they doing?
They were just laying on the bed, and I asked for their phones. They kind of looked at me a little crazy, but they still gave them to me. And at that point, I put them in my back pocket, and I hit I went to go put them in my purse, and they were gonna come out the room, like kind of coming out the room. And I asked Michelle if she believed in God, and she like kind of looked at me kind of crazy, and I hit her with the iron.
Where was your purse that you were going to put this phone?
It was right next to the, there's a kitchen table, and it was right next to the kitchen table. Like if I could just grab it and just and go out the door.
Let me show you states 82. Is this the purse that you're talking about?
No,
No?
no,
Did you put this purse in this laundry basket?
no.
Is that, which purse are you talking about?
It was a Coach bag, a tan and brown Coach.
So, they come out of the room, and how were you feeling? Why did you decide that you were going to kill her?
Because that was the only way out. I was scared, I didn't know what to do.
Do you know if she knew at that point that Victoria was dead?
I believe I told her.
Did that upset you?
Yeah, because she didn't seem like she cared. And I don't know, I got really upset about it. And I started fighting with her, and Fabian took the iron from me and left the apartment.
Where did you hit her?
I hit her in the face.
How many times did you hit her with the iron?
I hit her about only once until Fabian took the iron from me.
Did you hit the defendant with the iron?
No, he grabbed it from me.
So is this,
Maybe I can put on the record to remark this exhibit to 243. So say what numbers, so that you remember.
should I leave this?
No, just say it, for the record.
Okay, so we had inadvertently marked 2 exhibits as 206, so I'm going to relabel this chart as 243. So I'm going to show you this big chart, and I'm going to put a little chart that's exactly the same, just up here. And I'm going to let you look at that one. We'll just use this one. So do you recognize, we looked at this before, let me turn it this way. So, this is Michelle's room?
Yes.
And, yes, sorry. Where was she standing approximately when you hit her with the iron?
She's coming out of her door, and there's like a shelf right here.
Right in here?
Yes.
Where my finger's at?
Yes.
Okay. Did that shelf get disturbed?
I believe it did. I'm not too sure, I just know where I started fighting.
Where did Fabian grab the iron from you?
A little bit further towards the kitchen.
Towards the kitchen?
Towards the kitchen.
And what did he do with the iron?
He took it with him and he ran out the door.
Which door?
The front door.
And then what did you do?
Me and Michelle continued fighting into the kitchen until I couldn't fight no more. I ran out of energy, and she ended up leaving the apartment, and I stayed there waiting. And I was going to leave the apartment, but then I realized we never got rid of her body, so I got scared, and I lit the corner of the blanket, or the sheet,
You lit the corner of the sheet that was on
wrapped
Victoria?
around Victoria.
Let me back up a little bit. How long did this fight go on for?
Maybe a couple minutes.
When you were, when this fight started, you said you thought you told Michelle that Victoria was dead?
Yes.
Did you think before that she knew?
I kind of thought she knew because, like, what's going on, why does Fabian keep leaving, you know? But Michelle she just had a weird demeanor that night. Because even I was sitting on the couch and I was talking to my mom, and she was just, like, watching me talk to my mom. So I didn't know if she knew or if she didn't know. So in my head, I thought she knew.
Tell me about your level of intoxication at this point, or what's happening to you, kind of right around the time of this fight.
When you come down from methamphetamines and you've been up for a while, it's like your energy, everything, you just drop. Like, I just ran out of energy. Literally, I just felt exhausted, like I could just fall asleep. And I was just exhausted. Everything that happened, it was just exhausting. I couldn't focus. I couldn't do anything else but just let go.
When she ran out, did you gather anything up?
Actually, I did. I grabbed some CDs or DVDs or something that was right there in Matthew's room on a shelf. Threw those in my purse. I had the phones already. I had the Anchors to the Soul books, I believed, in my purse. I grabbed the car keys, and I believe I got Fabian's wallet.
Where were the car keys?
The car keys were in my pocket.
And then, is that when you set the fire?
Yes.
What happened then?
I set the fire, and it seemed like it got real smoky right away. And the smoke alarm went off, and I started panicking. I took down, I think, 1 or 2 smoke alarms. And by that time, the officer was at the door. I opened the door to the officer, seen it was an officer, and shut the door. And that's when I slid off the second story.
Why did you shut the door on the officer?
It was just a panic. I guess it's a fight or flight mode. I'm afraid of cops, especially in a situation like that. I don't look at them as help. I look at them as a threat.
Once you got outside, were you detained?
I actually walked up to the officers with my hands out, and then I was slammed down on the ground and detained.
Did you, once you were on the ground, where were you sitting?
They picked me up and made me walk up to the...
Well, before that, were you sitting down for a little bit? In the grass, do you remember?
I was on my face in the grass.
Do you remember, do you know if at that point you told, just right at the beginning, if you told officers that Victoria was dead?
No,
Why not?
I was afraid.
What was your response like?
I was afraid.
Did you tell them that there had been this other man that came to the apartment?
Yes.
Tell us about doing that. So from the time they stand you up and start moving you, tell us what happened.
They asked me all who was in the apartment, and I let them know the guy. They're like, well, who? I didn't know a name, and they kept saying who. So I just said anything that came to my mind, and I said La Corte. And
Can you say that slower? You said what?
La Corte,
What does that mean to you?
like the crazy. And I knew that if I gave them a name or something, that they would actually get me up off the ground and let me just go ahead and book me.
Did you go to the hospital?
Yes.
Did you tell anyone at the hospital about there being someone else?
No. After that, I asked for an attorney.
Do you remember telling them what they should do?
Yeah, that they need to go out and look for the real killer.
How come you didn't tell the police about this man asking for the defendant?
Because I was trying to protect him.
Why?
He's my cousin.
After you were arrested, did you tell your friends or family about what happened inside the apartment?
Kind of, sort of, I did, but I've never told the story.
Why not?
For one, I feel like when it's time for me to tell him what happened, it'll come, and I have to let all this get settled before I could say anything. And just some things are better left unsaid.
Going back to the time that you were living at Michelle's before the murder happened, do you know if the defendant ever had her EBT or food stamp card?
Yeah,
Do you know if he had her permission to use that card?
yeah. We went shopping at Walmart.
Did he have permission to use it?
I believe so. She shouldn't have never gave it to him if he wasn't going to use it.
Was he working, the defendant?
No.
Where was he getting money from?
I guess from her.
After you told Fabian, the defendant, about what happened to Victoria,
Let's have you adjust the microphone and move it towards me a little bit, like slide it.
Oops. Like that.
Slide it this way, right there, and angle it towards her, so it's more facing your face when you're talking. Okay, that's okay.
after you testified earlier that you told the defendant, pulled him to the side after you knew, when he came home, when you knew Victoria was dead, and that you told him what this man said. Do you remember that?
Yes.
What did he say to you?
He kind of looked at me like, you're freaking crazy, you know? And then I told him, well, go check. And then he went and checked Victoria, and then came back and he's like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? I'm like,
Did you have the conversation with him? Where you asked him what he did to make this person come there?
and he didn't give me an answer. He said he didn't know.
How was he acting?
Scared at that moment.
When you went to the hospital, do you know if they did a drug test on you?
No,
You don't know?
no.
Your Honor, the state would move for admission of states 223. I don't believe there's an objection.
No objection.
223 will be admitted.
So may I come with them?
You may.
So, Ms. Kelley, this is your toxicology results that shows a positive for amphetamine. Is that a surprise to you?
No.
Looking back on this day, the whole day, from the 12:30 time when you and the defendant were doing meth in Michelle's bathroom, all the way until he gets home and you tell him that Victoria is dead. Looking back, do you think his behavior was strange that day?
Yeah, I don't know why he kept leaving and coming back. Why didn't he ask me to go with him or take me to my mom's? Or it was just like he just wanted me to be there.
Did you find it strange the way that Victoria was left with you?
Yeah, because I was never even told about it. If I was aware that I was watching a child, I would have tried to sober up, or you know what I mean? But I wasn't aware. I wasn't ever told to go pick her up from a bus stop. I was never told that she's outside playing. You know, if that was the case, I wouldn't be inside tweaking, going from window to door. You know, I probably would have been out there or had her come inside where I felt that she would be safe.
Was Michelle around during the time that you were acting paranoid and talking about these things coming from the TV?
Yes.
May I have a moment?
You may.
Your Honor, I will pass the witness.
Do you need a break for that, Mr. Earl, or do you want to just get the exhibits together?
Yeah, I could use a break to get the exhibits
All
together.
right, we're going to take a short break so we can get everything together, and we'll bring it back in a couple minutes. All rise for the jury.
Ms. Kelley, yesterday you were emotional, would you agree, when you took the stand?
Yes.
You told the jury that you were crying because you grew up with Fabian and you loved him.
Yes.
Remember saying that?
Yes.
Shouldn't you be mad at Fabian for causing or permitting Victoria's death?
I am angry with him.
And
But
should-
that does not change the way you feel about somebody. You can't just take a whole lifetime away and not care.
did you ever think about crying for Victoria and what
Mhm.
happened to her?
Believe me, I cry all the time.
Victoria was the innocent child, wasn't she, not Fabian?
Yes.
Your mom told you to do the right thing and come home, didn't she?
Yes, she did.
But if the Mexican man didn't really happen, the truth would mean 200 years, not 44, wouldn't it?
I never said a Mexican man.
Didn't you tell the police that this man had a Mexican accent?
Yes, but a lot of people have different accents. I could have been wrong if it was Mexican or not, and I never said it was a Mexican.
Okay. But if this man never came into the apartment, the truth would be 200 years, not 44, correct?
No, because it would have never happened if that man would have never entered the apartment. We wouldn't be here today.
Under your
Victoria
plea
would be here.
agreement, you earned 50% good time because your involvement in the child abuse was considered not violent, correct?
Correct.
And so that 44 comes down to 22 years total if you get your good time, right?
Yes, that's all my good behavior.
And 6 years of good credit so far. You're almost 6 years next. I believe that you spoke to your mom at 11:43 on August 26th.
I don't know the time, but I did know I did call her.
Okay. And you knew those jail calls from inside the jail out that they were recorded, right?
Yes.
And did you tell your mother something that is inconsistent with what you told the jury yesterday and today?
Not that I believe.
Do you remember saying, I was going to the house, I was packing away stuff, and Fabian and them got mad. And then I don't know what happened after that, okay? So that's all I even know. Fabian and them ran outside, I saw the cops were coming after me, so I jumped off the balcony, okay? Did you say that to your mom?
Honestly, I don't recall.
Well,
If you could show me the transcript, to refresh my memory. It's been a long time.
did you tell your mom that you didn't know what happened?
Yes.
All right. And why didn't you tell your mom that your beloved cousin wasn't the one who murdered Victoria?
I didn't say anybody did. I didn't say anything like that on the phone because I know it was a recorded phone call.
Well, I think you'd agree with me. You were not protecting Fabian when you were saying what you said to your mom, that you didn't know how it happened. You weren't protecting him, were you?
I was protecting my mother.
Your mother you were protecting.
Yes.
Now, do you remember talking to Roxanne Cordova when she visited you in the jail?
Roxanne never visited me.
You don't remember Roxanne and Sherry coming to visit you at the jail?
No, because those two don't even get along.
Did you tell Roxanne?
Objection, Your Honor. May we approach?
Well, do you remember talking to Roxanne about what happened?
No, sir.
Do you remember talking to Roxanne?
I talked to Roxanne on telephone calls, but she would never visit me.
All right, so it might have been by telephone call that you had with Roxanne, where she wanted to know what happened. Do you remember that conversation?
No, she would never ask me anything like that.
Didn't you tell Roxanne that you took Victoria out to Fabian and Michelle wrapped in a blanket, handed them the baby and said you were going back inside to sleep? Do you remember telling her that?
No.
Do you remember telling her that you woke up in the middle of the night, saw Victoria dead, and attacked them for killing her?
I never talked to her about any of this.
Okay. Do you remember visiting Cherie Varela in the jail?
Yes.
And do you remember telling her, and who else was there with her?
I don't recall.
Okay. But do you remember telling her what happened?
I gave her a brief story of what she assumed, but
Now,
I did not tell her anything that happened that night.
so you gave her a brief story that she assumed. But didn't you tell her what happened inconsistent with what you told the jury?
No, sir.
You don't remember telling her that you asked Victoria, after you saw Fabian and Michelle outside, that you talked to Victoria and asked her, do you want to go with your mom?
No.
You never told that to Cherie.
No, never told her that.
Do you remember telling Cherie that you couldn't find Victoria's shoes, so you wrapped her in a blanket and took her down the steps?
I did tell her that.
Okay. Did you tell Cherie that after that you went to sleep and you were awakened hearing banging?
Yes.
Okay, so you did tell her that.
I did tell Cherie this.
And that's, according to what you told Cherie, that's when you found Victoria dead, and that's why you attacked Fabian and Michelle with the iron, right?
No. No.
So the only part of that you remember is that you woke up hearing banging.
No. I told her, she asked me why the little girl wasn't wearing shoes when I carried her down. I said she didn't have them on. That's why I was carrying her.
But you were having a conversation with Victoria when actually she was dead, right?
I never even told Sheree that she was deceased at that moment.
But you did tell her that you spoke to Victoria and asked her if she wanted to go with her mom.
No, I didn't.
Now, when you were growing up with Fabian and his brothers, that's when they'd say, oh, chaos, chaos. Or if they'd get into a fight, that's the first thing Fabian would say is, I'm going to go get my brothers, chaos, chaos. Is that true?
Yes.
And this involvement was really in middle school, maybe up through 8th grade, right?
No. He used to say it when he was an adult, too.
But you never really paid attention because you just thought it was nonsense.
A lot of things Fabian say is nonsense.
All right. You didn't take it seriously when he would get all angry and say things like that, right?
Right.
Now,
So you became pregnant with Tiffany.
Objection, Your Honor. Can we avoid names, please?
Oh, I'm sorry.
His initials. Thank you.
Yes. You became pregnant with your older daughter when you were 16 and eventually moved in with her father, your boyfriend Noah, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then a couple of years later, you gave birth to your younger son.
Correct.
And you just turned 18 when you gave birth to him, right?
Correct.
Now, were you aware Fabian's brothers joined the Marines in the Army? They grew up and left and got their life together?
I know Stevie did.
All right. Did you know Joseph joined the military too?
I know he joined the military.
Now, you've been incarcerated in and out since you were 18 years old, correct?
No.
Do you remember giving a pretrial interview by Google Meet or Zoom in August of 2020? Do you remember that?
Yes.
And do you remember when Mr. Moy was asking you questions and you were answering those questions?
Yes.
Do you remember telling him, page 32, line 8, I've been incarcerated in and out since...
Objection, Your Honor. First, hearsay, and two, this is outside the scope of the priors.
That years went by where you had no contact with Fabian.
Well, I was incarcerated from maybe 27 to the age of 30.
Okay. He never wrote to you.
No.
You never wrote to him.
No.
He never visited you.
No.
Family visited you, but he didn't, right?
Right?
You never called him.
Actually, I talked to him while I was in prison on a prison call while I was incarcerated for my trafficking.
One time
Maybe 1 or 2 times
over those years.
over those years.
Now, you got out of prison on Monday, the 15th of August, just 8 days before Victoria's murder. Is that right?
Believe it, yeah? Yes.
Monday the 15th?
Yes.
And you had you took a bus to Albuquerque and Cherie picked you up.
Yes.
And you went with her and her kids to a dentist appointment. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
And then from there you went to her mother's.
Correct.
At some point you were babysitting Cherie's kids for her before Lori was going to pick you up. Do you remember that?
Yes, that was Wednesday when me and
Wednesday?
Fabian went over there.
And things were going pretty good for you all in all, weren't they?
Actually, they were going pretty great.
Now, isn't it true that you watched Cherie's kids, and I believe that that you were going to watch one of the other kids? You were they wanted to come sleep with you at Fabian's, but you said no, you didn't really have a place for them. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And who was that?
I was talking to Shree's oldest daughter.
Okay. And Roxanne trusted you with her kids, even with your history using drugs, right?
Roxanne only has one child. I think you got somebody confused because Roxanne doesn't even take care of her own child.
Okay. Well, we'll come back to that. Now, David Chavez, that's that uncle, not by blood, but you call him Uncle David.
Yeah.
Now, the illegal activity, you sold him your old EBT card, right?
Actually, I went over there with Fabian. Fabian tried to sell my EBT card to him for money for gas. Fabian didn't know I had money, so I never gave him my PIN number. I was going to pay him back. He got mad because I was going to give him the money back and I didn't want to give him the PIN.
Now, this was your EBT card that you had even back before you were incarcerated, right?
Correct.
And you kind of swindled David because he bought the EBT card, but you wouldn't give him the PIN, right?
Right.
Now, you and your mom, her name's Lori Collins, right?
Correct.
Okay. You and your mom went to watch your younger son play a middle school football game on Saturday afternoon.
No, we actually went, it was Yaffle. It wasn't a middle school game. It was at Bullhead Park.
So it's YAFL, right?
The Yaffle, yes.
And what grade was he in? I understand it wasn't school sponsored, but about how old was he when you went to watch his football game?
He was about 11, 12.
Okay. And Crystal called you.
Speak up a little bit, get closer, please.
Did Crystal call you?
I don't recall.
Do you remember telling her how your son's team had won?
Oh yeah, she did. She ended up calling and me and Fabian were talking to her.
Do you remember telling Crystal in a tape-recorded call that you rented a room from your homegirl?
Correct.
And the homegirl you were referring to was Michelle.
Correct.
So you were actually renting the room from her, weren't you?
It was her apartment.
And how much were you going to pay, 50 bucks a month?
Just $50 just for the month. I was already had a job lined up so I could get my own apartment.
And once you had your apartment, you'd have enough money to be able to go forward.
Yes, sir.
Now, did you actually pay that 50, or was this something that you were willing to pay?
I believe I paid more than 50.
Okay.
I didn't give him a $50 bill and say, here's for rent. But every time he would ask me for money, for gas or anything, on buying cigarettes, I would buy hygiene for the house. I will give him 20 bucks here, 20 bucks there. So in all reality, I believe I paid him for the rent and I stayed there for the weekend.
All right. And things were a little tight money-wise. He didn't have a job until the next Wednesday, right?
Well, I didn't know if he had a job at all, but I know he does do side jobs.
Right. And your job at, what was it, Church's Fried Chicken, that wasn't going to start till Wednesday.
That wasn't supposed to start. I was waiting for an email to hit my phone by Wednesday.
Okay. And that's the same place where Cherie worked.
Yes, while I was babysitting Cherie's kids, I got on her laptop and put in my application. She talked to her boss, and her boss told me to come in that Friday morning for an interview at 9 o'clock.
Now, your kids and Victoria all had sort of a sleepover at Michelle's apartment Saturday, didn't they?
No,
They didn't come and sleep over?
they slept over, but not to go sleep over with Michelle's kids. They came to spend the weekend with me, and that was their intentions.
Yeah, they wanted to be with you, but didn't they spend the night where Victoria and Michelle and Fabian and you and both of your kids were all in one place?
Well, yeah.
All right, so you wouldn't call that a sleepover?
No.
All right. Now, Victoria was playing and at the swimming pool. That was one of the activities you did, right?
No.
You don't remember going to the swimming pool?
I didn't go to the swimming pool, neither did Victoria. My two children went down to the swimming pool to check it out before Victoria and Matthew came home.
And you're saying Victoria didn't play with her playmates?
They played for a little bit in the room while my daughter put the mattress back on her bed, but no, they really didn't play.
She wasn't outside with her scooter playing with other kids?
No, because that night they showed up, I believe, at 9 o'clock at night, and at that time, it's too late for them to be outside. My kids were on the balcony with me.
Now, you testified yesterday that Fabian broke into cars at the casino. Is that true?
That is true.
But doesn't the Downs Casino have video surveillance?
Yes, it does.
There weren't any police reports of auto burglaries.
No, because they caught him barely getting into the vehicle and they asked him if it was his vehicle. And he was, oh no, sorry, sir. And he's all, well, you need to get out of here.
So they made him go.
They made us leave the premises.
Right. So there was no auto burglary to report, right?
No. It was stopped before it happened.
Now, does that attempted burglary have anything to do with the murder of Victoria?
No. Well, not that I know of.
Now, there was a barbecue in your honor, a coming home barbecue on Sunday, right?
Yes.
And everybody was pulling for you there, and even those who couldn't come. True?
True.
You explained to your sister that you got some of your personal property back, right?
I don't recall.
Did you have to get permission for your two kids to come over to Michelle's apartment?
Yes.
Didn't Amanda ask you if her daughter could spend the night with you at Fabian's?
Yes.
All right, so that's the person whose daughter was going to spend the night. But you explained that at least that night wasn't a good night because there really aren't enough beds or anything for her daughter to come, right?
Correct.
But Amanda would have been fine with you being with her daughter
Yes.
because you're good with kids.
Yes, I am.
You're very protective of them.
Yes, I am.
Now, Amanda and Fabian, they've sort of had some, they're sort of cousins as well, right? Or are they on two different sides of your family?
I believe we're all cousins.
All right.
Fabian is my first cousin, and his mom and my dad are brothers and sisters, so
Okay.
that's his cousin.
And then Amanda, how does she relate to you?
She's actually a second cousin.
All right, but those two were not getting along. That's fair to say, isn't it?
That is fair to say.
And you talked a little bit about Amanda punching Fabian, giving him a black eye. Is that a good way of putting it?
She split his eye open, yes.
Right. And you were really the peacekeeper in that fight.
I tried to be.
You tried to separate them and stop the fight, right?
Correct.
Because you're really not a violent person at all, are you?
No.
Now, when Fabian was saying he's coming back with his brothers and chaos and all of that in texts, you didn't take him seriously, did you?
Honestly, I was more afraid of him calling the cops. That's what Amanda asked me to make sure he didn't do.
All right. Because, as you testified, when you're on parole, you've got a pretty short, zero tolerance, they say. You can't.
I wasn't on parole, so.
You
no.
weren't. You paroled inside then.
Yes, I finaled my number inside.
Okay. But you were still worried if the police got called that you could end up somehow being in trouble even though you didn't do anything wrong.
No, I was just trying to defuse my cousins from fighting because at the end of the day, they're still going to talk and they're still going to love each other and they'll get over it.
All right. Now, you left with Willie and went over to see the twins, right?
Right.
And the meth that you used on the day in question came from the twins, didn't it?
Yes.
Now, do you think that fist fight had anything to do with Victoria's murder?
At the time, no. As I look back, I don't know what could have.
Well, didn't you tell the officer that that's what you thought was the reason for the man to come over, is this fight between Amanda and Fabian?
I never said that to no officer.
No? Do you remember being asked whether you talked to anyone about whether the drugs from the twins had bath salt in them? Do you remember those questions?
Yes, and I said there could be. Drugs sometimes are cut with many different things.
And,
But the potency in methamphetamines could cause that type of hallucination too.
right, and you've seen people, when you're incarcerated, you've seen people that have taken bath salts and freak out or become crazy.
Yes.
Now, you've never seen Michelle use drugs, have you?
No.
She drank with Fabian on the day in question, but to your knowledge, she's never used drugs, has she?
No.
Now, you said that Fabian was smoking a bowl of meth, but the police never found any methamphetamine or
I guess
bowls of meth. Isn't that
no.
true?
He probably stashed it pretty good in the light fixture where he kept it. If you probably go to that apartment now, you could probably find it.
Oh, so it's in the light fixture.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever tell the police that when you talked to them and
No.
prepared your plea?
No.
No? You spoke how many hours with the detectives before you entered into your plea agreement?
I believe a couple of days.
A lot of hours, true.
True.
And you never mentioned that there might be some drugs that the police never found.
I don't recall.
In fact, the only drugs they found on the scene was marijuana, weed, right?
I don't know.
You don't know? Did you see any of the pictures of what they found?
No.
Now, you were, there's a hospital document that shows that you had a lot of meth in your system.
Objection, Your Honor, to the characterization of a lot of meth. I don't know that Mr. Aarons can say that.
I'll rephrase, thank you. You had over 1,000 nanograms per milliliter of methamphetamine. That was the cutoff level, right?
I guess.
All right. And that's what you remember from that day?
Yes, but when I got arrested, I had methamphetamines on me because I got it back from Fabian and I stuck it in my mouth when I got arrested. So that could be the cause of the high level of methamphetamines in my system.
All right, well, let's slow that down. Because I don't think you ever told the police that Fabian gave you something that you put in your mouth.
He never gave me something that I put in my mouth. I put it in my mouth. I had it.
You had the methamphetamine.
Yes, I had the methamphetamine.
And didn't you tell Detective Lewis that you got your methamphetamine from the twins, Willie and the twins?
Yes, and then I threw it in the trash that day. Fabian took it out, and later on that night I asked for it back.
So you get this meth that you were using too much of, right?
I agree.
And you're saying you put this meth, you threw it away.
Mm-hmm.
Now, why didn't you tell the police that in the 2 days that you were interviewed?
I did tell them that.
Now, you don't remember, well, before I go to that, you woke Fabian up in the morning, this is Tuesday morning, and you wanted him to talk to him while you were working on your book about the Bible and working with God, your relationship, right?
Yes.
And your conversation with Fabian was really about trying to get yourself and your children right with God, right? Isn't
Him
that-
too. My
Him-
family. He is
him
my
too,
family.
Everyone, right?
Yes.
And your mom taught you that when you're in trouble, you need to turn to God and ask for help, right?
Right.
And ask for forgiveness.
Right.
You certainly weren't talking about doing something violent like dismembering a child or burning her body. None of those sorts of thoughts came into anybody's mind when you were talking to Fabian that day.
No, they didn't.
It
But
was
when-
really good things about trying to do right in this earth.
Yes.
Now, you don't remember picking Victoria up or being asked to pick Victoria up at the bus stop. Is that your testimony?
That is my testimony.
So you don't remember, or it didn't happen, that Michelle texted you and said, don't forget, in 10 minutes you're supposed to pick up Victoria. You don't remember that text.
No, I never received that text.
And I guess then you don't remember Fabian and Michelle getting mad at you, like you told your mom, because you didn't get little Victoria at the bus stop. You don't remember that argument at all, do you?
Then the argument never happened.
Okay. And you don't remember Fabian telling you that he's sorry, but
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
doesn't go to the truth, but the effect on the listener.
Finish the question and hear it.
All right.
Don't answer.
Don't answer, but I'll ask the question and then we'll
Can
see.
we approach and hear the questions?
Sure, come on.
Going to include the statement.
My mom didn't know the address because Fabian wouldn't give me the address. And Fabian agreed that he'd give me a ride to my mom's, and that was on my account because I wanted to leave, not because I was told to leave.
Not because you had messed up with Victoria.
That was on, no.
Now, that was on, you were going to finish that sentence?
No.
No. Isn't it true that not only did you forget to go to the bus stop, but you locked the door where Victoria couldn't get inside?
No.
Because what you testified earlier is that you kept the door ajar that whole day. Isn't that your testimony?
That is my testimony.
So you denied that Victoria was locked out of her house on her birthday.
Can you rephrase that?
You denied that afternoon when Victoria came home from school that she knocked on the door and the door was locked.
Well, if she would have knocked on the door and it was locked, I would have heard the knock. But the door was open, sir.
So she was never locked out. That's
She
your
was never locked
testimony,
out.
right? And what happened with her had nothing to do with your leaving. That's your testimony.
What happened to her had nothing to do with me.
Well, nothing happened to her, right? That's what you're saying.
I don't understand. Can you please rephrase that?
You deny that Fabian and Michelle came storming into the apartment yelling at you about why you didn't pick up her little baby at the bus stop.
No. Don't you have my phone records? My phone records will show that I never received her text.
You never got her
I never even
text.
had, no. I don't even know where her bus stop's at.
Now, you gave Victoria some money for her birthday, right?
Yes.
Do you remember being with Victoria and telling a neighbor that Victoria likes makeup? That might be a present they could get for her.
I might have said that when the two neighbors, when we were walking up the stairs, because Victoria does like makeup. Because the morning I was getting ready for my interview, she wanted to put on makeup, and I wouldn't allow her to wear the lipstick I wear because I wear a dark colored lipstick, so I gave her some pixie dust that morning. So that's why I said maybe she likes makeup. But I honestly, I didn't remember saying that.
But it might have been said.
Yes, it might have been said.
All right. So you were interacting with the other neighbors, and you were talking just fine, right?
Yes.
You weren't angry that Victoria had caused you to leave?
No.
You weren't angry at Victoria at all, you're saying?
No, I was never angry at that little girl.
And your testimony is that Fabian and Michelle just disappeared. They didn't say that they were going to go back to his family.
No.
Because you don't remember them coming there angry, right?
They never came there angry.
Now, Victoria was safe outside and on her scooter in her neighborhood with her friends, wasn't she?
In your opinion, that you make things that she was safe, but in my opinion, I felt that she was unsafe being unsupervised. And she wasn't playing with no friends, she was out there alone.
Well, there were some people, there were people that you talked to about makeup. They were out there, right?
Those are the neighbors.
And there were children her age playing outside, weren't they?
I didn't see any.
Victoria was outside playing on her scooter when you made her come back inside, didn't you?
I didn't make her. I asked her to come inside, being that her mom wasn't out there.
Her parents were coming, well, not her parents, but her mom and her mom's new boyfriend were coming back soon, right?
I didn't know where they were at. I didn't know if they were coming back soon or not.
But you took it upon yourself to bring her back into the house, didn't you?
Yes. Well, that's her home. She shouldn't be outside by herself, unsupervised.
Would you agree that if she had stayed outside until they came home, none of this would have happened?
I agree.
Now, we've seen this picture of your boyfriend, and you said you went online to look for Sinner, right?
Yes.
Isn't it true that you thought he was out on furlough and he would turn himself back into Clayton?
No, he was about ready to get out, but I knew he wasn't out because I left him up that morning.
But you were thinking he might be out or he's getting out soon,
I knew he was getting out soon.
and you were worried what he might think you had other boyfriends, and you both loved him and worried about him getting out, true?
Can you rephrase that?
Didn't you tell Fabian that you were worried about what if Sinner would be mad because you had been with another man?
No.
And didn't he tell you to live your own life and
No.
not worry about it?
No.
He joked to you about, well, he was going to go go find out where Sinner is or bring him home or something like that. He told that to you, right?
Yes.
But your sister made the same kind of a joke to you in that phone call, didn't she? She was talking about Sinner being there. So that's just some joke that both of them made with you, right?
They do that because they know I'm high and I get paranoid when I'm high.
But you don't get violent when you're high, do you?
No.
Now, you were worried about Sinner rolling up, not somebody looking for Fabian, right?
Right.
You had no reason to believe anybody was looking for Fabian.
No.
You had never taken meth or any other drug that made you as paranoid as this, did you?
No.
Why didn't you lock the front door when you thought Sinner was coming?
So I wanted to hear him come up those stairs if he was coming. I also thought the cops might be coming too. I didn't know if it was going to be either or. But I guess that's just my paranoia of being ran up on when I'm high.
And you denied that the door was locked when Victoria came home, right?
Right.
It turns out Sinner didn't have his furlough yet, did he? He was in jail or prison when this happened, correct?
Correct.
So he wasn't the person who had a Mexican accent and came in the door, was he? It had to be somebody else, right?
Well, I would recognize it if it was him.
You would have known if it was
I
him,
would have known
right?
if it was him.
Now, you talked to your other sister, I think she's a sister, named Nia, right around that time too, right?
Well, I call her my sister. She's really not my sister.
All right, but she's close to you, right?
Right.
And you had a normal conversation with her, didn't you?
Yes.
Just like you had with your sister, Crystal. True?
That wasn't a normal conversation, sir.
The one with Crystal wasn't normal?
No.
Well, you're talking about she needing money in her commissary, and you put money in her commissary before, right?
Yes.
And she gave you some contacts, and you wrote it down on the back of your book, people to call and what their names were and everything. True?
Yeah. I was doing favors for the other girls because I know how it is to be locked up. Sometimes you can't get a hold of people, so, you know, that's just what you do. You just look out for people sometimes.
And you talked to your mom on the phone as well that day.
Yes. I talked to her twice.
Now, as I understand your testimony, a stranger killed Victoria, not you. That's your testimony, right?
Yes.
Do you remember when, right when you were arrested, you were asked, who else was in the apartment with you, and you said another guy. Remember saying that?
Mm-hmm.
But you were
Yes.
referring to Fabian, not to the stranger, right?
No. I would have said Fabian. I wouldn't have said another guy.
Well, you said he took off, he started to wipe blood off, and I started panicking. Did the stranger wipe blood off, or did Fabian in the middle of your fight?
I fabricated that because the officers wanted to know something, so I gave them just something so they'll leave me alone.
So you fabricated the story about the other guy wiping blood off. Is that right? That didn't happen.
That did not happen.
And he asked for the name, and you said, I don't know his name, they call him Lacote. You remember saying that to the officer?
Yes.
Now, who calls him Lacote? Well, you said they. What? Somebody must call him Lacote.
I just said that so the officers will just arrest me and just leave me alone.
All right, so, because I was trying to figure out, how did you know the man's nickname if you'd never seen him before?
Correct.
So it's just a lie to the police. You didn't want to tell them that there's somebody murdered this child and it wasn't you.
Well, I let them know that there was another man, and they kept persisting, so I gave them what they wanted.
You just gave them what they wanted, right?
Yes.
Now, you refused to give a statement to the police, which was your right to refuse, right?
Right.
Now, about 2 years later, there was a press conference about your case.
Objection, Your Honor. You wait for it.
Age, defendant's age. Do you remember the day that there was news about your case and Michelle Martens had taken a plea and they were filing a complaint against someone else? Do you remember that day?
Yes, I do.
And you were in your pod, I think it's pod 5, cell 6.
Yes.
And you had a TV in there and you were watching this news event about your case, right?
Yes.
Now, you didn't know at the time that Detective Lewis had wired your pod and captured what you had to say. You didn't know that, did you?
No.
And basically what the news was is that they were going to, they had or were filing a complaint against John Doe, an unknown man whose DNA was found on Victoria's body. That's what they were telling everybody, including yourself, right?
I knew about it before the press conference.
Okay. But that's the first time the public knew, right?
Right.
You knew about it because you had read the most of the papers that were in your case. You knew that the DNA, that there were DNA reports, right?
Right.
And so if we look on page 3, I'll ask you, do you remember saying, Quavo, hey, Roybal, I'm on the news today? Do you remember that yourself, that you were talking to your friend, Roybal?
Actually, that was a CO.
Oh, it was a CO?
Yes.
Okay. And an inmate said, that's it, girl.
Objection, Your Honor.
No,
Not that you can answer.
thank you. That's it, girl, something like that. Do you remember anybody else talking about, hey, you're on the news, you know, that's it?
Yeah.
All right. And you explained it wasn't really your case, but the mom had taken a plea, and she got effing 12 to 15 today. Remember saying, I don't know, were you talking to the CO or the other inmates? Who were you talking to?
I wasn't talking to the CO, I was talking to another inmate.
All right. And did you explain to the inmate that the mom meaning Michelle, got 12 to 15 years.
Yeah, it was all over the news. They heard it. I just repeated what the news said.
Okay, and you told them, they said there's an unknown male out there. Do you remember telling the other inmate?
Yeah.
You told them, I mean, they eliminated Fabian from raping her, you know what I mean? But she did not get a murder charge, I told you. Did you say that to the inmate?
Yep. Yes.
And then did you say that you were talking about, I guess an inmate asked you if that would change things for you or him. And by him, didn't he mean Fabian? Isn't that your understanding?
Yes.
Okay. And you said, kinda does. But then why would he lie? You know what I mean? Why would he lie and say he's seen shit that he didn't? I did it. Straight setup. Do you remember saying that?
Yes, I did.
And you were pretty mad because in Fabian's statement, as the jury will hear, he claimed that he saw you stabbing Victoria to death. And that was a lie, wasn't it?
Yes.
He never saw you.
No.
You did it straight set up, didn't you?
I'm going to object to mischaracterization of what this says and ask that we read the entire portion instead of stopping mid-sentence.
I'll read the whole paragraph.
Oh, it's the same.
You remember saying when you were asked if it changed things for Fabian, well, they kind of does, but then why would he lie? You know what I mean? Why would he lie and say he's seen shit that he didn't? I did it straight set up. She fucking lied on every story. She said because she had the low IQ, she lied on everything. And they said, please do not effing take into what has been put out about the case. It's all been lies. Is that what you said?
Yes, that's what the press conference said that day. That don't take anything that Michelle Martens had said because everything that's been put out in the case has been lies.
Okay. But what you were upset about is that Fabian lied when he said he saw you stabbing Victoria, right?
Yes, I said that.
And you were upset. The press conference said it was all lies, all effing lies. She's lying because she's a people pleaser, and being that she has such a low IQ, she said whatever people wanted her to say. You're talking about Michelle there, right?
Yes.
So in all reality, that's been put out there, everything that's been put out there is effing lies. Except for Escape, she didn't, the little girl was raped right to death. There's an unknown male or unknown males that need to eliminate. So other than the fact that there was nothing done to the girl at her death, everything that was out there was a lie, right?
Yes.
And they're still working to get the killer. And that scared the F out of you because they're going to say more than one person killed her. You know what I mean? So in all reality, I'm the last one to go. And being that they haven't offered me an effing plea because I won't talk, that just scares me, you know what I mean? Like, are you going to give me the murder charge? But inaudible me, pretty much? That's right there, a big change over that the jury know that there's an unknown male out there. That's what you're telling the other inmate, right?
I don't see where you're reading that up.
Well, from line 16 through 20 on page 5.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as a little backdrop, you have not given a statement to anybody yet, right? I mean, you, other than whatever you told the police at your arrest and maybe when you were at the hospital, you didn't give a police statement, and you're thinking they're going to go after you for the murder, right?
Right.
But this is a good break for you. I mean, they're thinking John Doe might have done it, right? Isn't that your, maybe a way out of this?
It's not a way out of it. It's, you can't lie with DNA, sir.
Well, you and I both know that that male DNA could have been her playmates, not the man that came in the door.
Maybe you know, but I don't know.
You can't explain why there's 2 or 4 male DNAs in the same spot, can you?
No.
And in fact, the officer asked you if more than one person came in the door, and you said, nope, only one, right?
Right.
So you were asking this other inmate, come on, what would you think just from hearing that? What would you think? Would you think that me and Fabian killed this little girl? Or would you what? Would you think that we killed her or somebody else killed her, being that they have the DNA? You're trying to see sort of, well, now that we've got some DNA, maybe it's not you and Fabian who killed this little girl, right?
No, honestly, I just want to know what the public thinks and what has been put out there, how pleasant their minds could be. I just wanted to know their opinion.
All right. So this was sort of somebody who saw that evidence. Well, what do you think now that you heard there's some DNA out there? They won't blame Fabian and me for killing this little girl, right?
Honestly, I was more worried about the rape charge.
And you were worried about, and that's not true. There was nothing sexual ever done to Victoria, right?
Right. But we were charged, all of us were charged for crimes that none of us committed, but we were still charged for it, so.
And that's because of all of those lies.
Yes.
Told.
And with my experience with police, SEALs, you never know. You could just piss off somebody and they're going to charge you with something, and half the time you end up taking a plea for it.
And you felt like you're just the scapegoat, right?
Yeah.
Now, on the bottom of that, page 6, you said, I don't want them to hate Fabian. That's my cousin. You know what I mean? But he is wrong.
Your Honor, I'm going to object and ask that we read the whole sentence and not start in the middle.
Ms. Ernst?
I thought maybe they could do it on redirect, but I'll read the whole thing, Judge. So the unknown inmate says, yeah, inaudible, hard inaudible. You don't think, okay, yeah, that was just a big thing, just to let the effing public know that there's an unknown male. I, inaudible, you mean like? I wanted to tell my family so bad, but boom. Now my family knows, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want them to hate Fabian. That's my cousin, you know what I mean? But he is wrong for effing lying on me. You know what I mean? He effing gave them an open gate, opened the door for them to effing take my life. Did you say that to your fellow inmate?
I sure did.
And on the next page, to continue, and I don't think there's a break here. Yeah, oh, he says, yeah, and then you continue. So, in all reality, F him. But I'm pretty glad he ain't going to be raped while he's in prison, you know what I mean? But yet he is dead. He effed. Even my husband's a big MF in prison. He did? He done effed up, you know what I mean? What did you mean by that?
Exactly what it says.
That basically, Fabian isn't going to be raped in prison, he's going to be killed in prison. Right?
Objection, Your Honor. That's speculation and not what the witness said.
No.
What, give your interpretation of it.
Yeah, what did you mean?
My interpretation is, thank God he ain't going to be raped, but he's dead to me. Fabian is dead to me. As of right now, he's dead to me.
But you didn't say he's dead to you. You said he is dead. He effed. And even my husband's a big MF in prison. Were you referring to John?
No, he ain't my husband. I don't have a husband.
Okay, but some big MFs are going to take care of this, right?
No.
That's not what you were saying?
No.
So, he's dead to you, Fabian, right?
Yes.
He's not your beloved cousin who you had to protect. He's somebody who
That's a part of my past.
lied, and because he said he saw you stabbing Victoria to death, he deserves to die, right?
No. That's not what I said. I feel that he's dead to me because of everything that has happened. Both our lives are ruined. Because somebody lost their life behind all of this.
And he's
And it's not right. It's
he
not right.
caused it, is what you're saying. Not you, but him.
No. I'm taking full responsibility for everything that happened that day. And I can never fix that.
You remember telling a cellmate, we're going to write a book about my life. Did you tell your cellmate that too?
Yes? Why not? I have a bunch of time on my hands. I could write a book.
Okay. Let's see. So that's when you changed your story.
Objection, Your Honor.
Put on your mic when you've got to come out.
Sorry. Objection, Your Honor. That's a mischaracterization. She did not change her story. She already testified about telling police at the scene that there was someone else there.
Was that a bank conference?
June the 29th. And then in August, you give the first of several statements where the police officer, your attorney, the district attorney, everyone's there, and you're telling them, for the first time, you're telling these people that a man came in and said and did what you're saying today, right?
No, it wasn't the first time. When I got arrested, that's when I let them know that there was another male in there. And then my attorney knew, and then the DA also knew. That was the first time I actually made a confession of everything that happened that night.
So the first time that you made a confession of everything that happened that night came after you read the DNA and after...
No. It wasn't after I read no DNA. I didn't even read the DNA. I knew that there was another male. I knew that by the DNA.
Okay. So the first time that you gave a confession to everything that happened, you knew that there was DNA, and you knew there was this press conference, and you knew that they had filed a complaint against an unknown man, and then you gave your full confession, as you said.
I'm not too sure about me giving a confession after the fact of the press conference. I believe I actually did that before.
Isn't it true that the press conference was June the 29th, and your first statement to the group was in August?
Could you give us a year, Mr. X?
And this is all in 2018, 2 years after the event, right?
Yes.
So unlike the other statements that were made the night of the murder, you had 2 years to prepare your statement. True?
True.
Now, let's talk about this man. You're saying the front door was unlocked, and Victoria went in her room. Did she change her clothes into her pink pajamas?
Yes, the door was actually cracked. It wasn't just unlocked. It was open, partially open.
All right, it was cracked open, right?
Mm-hmm. And yes, she was in her pajamas already before he came.
Before the man came. And you were watching TV, right?
Yes.
And this guy comes in, right?
Right.
And he's well dressed, and he has a Mexican accent, but he might not be a Mexican, right?
Right.
Were you ever asked to do a composite sketch to try to help catch this child killer?
No.
Now, you testified that you thought he was Victoria's dad, right?
Well, I didn't say exactly that he was her dad. I said he could have been because he seemed familiar with the house.
Well, he didn't ask for her, he asked for Fabo.
Yeah, but Fabian lived there.
For how long, like a week?
I have no idea. All I know is the week that I was out of prison.
Didn't you know in those several days that you were there that Fabian, this was a new relationship for Fabian and for Michelle as well? You didn't know that they had just met a short while before you came?
I never know with Fabian in his relationships.
So you didn't know if they were together a year or a day?
No.
Why did you think he was Victoria's dad, of all people?
I didn't think he was her dad. I said he seemed familiar. He could have been her dad, for all I know.
He never said he was her dad, did he?
No.
He never called her by name.
No.
In fact, you didn't mention her name either.
No.
You just said me and the little girl.
I just said me and the girl, yes.
Now, who even knew Fabian was living there?
I did.
You did, but he didn't really want everybody to just know where he lived, did he?
He just didn't want my family knowing where he lived, but apparently he wanted people to know where he lived because he wanted to take the other guy over there. Or he wanted to let Martin go over there either.
So Martine went.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
He gave Martin the
you had
address.
your cell phone then, didn't you?
Huh?
You had your cell phone.
Yes.
Why didn't you call Fabian and say, hey, there's a guy here looking for you?
Because I figured he's going to be coming home anytime soon. And he just got a new phone, and I didn't really have Michelle's phone number programmed in my phone.
Did you ask Victoria if she was dressed?
No. She was already dressed before he came, because she came out wearing her pajamas, and she put her book on the shelf.
So she was wearing pajamas, so you know she was getting ready. What time was her bedtime? Do you remember? Wasn't it 8 o'clock on school nights?
I don't know. I don't know her bedtime.
Okay. But you didn't ask Victoria, somebody's coming into your bedroom.
No.
Did you ask Victoria to come out to see her dad?
It wasn't her dad.
Objection, Your Honor.
6A, she said she got it for the dinner. Rephrase the question.
Did you ask Victoria to come out to see this man?
No, I didn't.
Did you ask Victoria if this man was her dad?
No, because as soon as I said that girl, he nodded and went straight, like, right to her room.
Did that concern you a little, that this
No.
man went into a 10-year-old girl's bedroom?
No.
In fact, your testimony is that you went out on the balcony and smoked a cigarette for, what, 5 minutes or something?
Yes. But the balcony is a glass door. You could see right through it, and the door was open, so I was looking in. I didn't see anything out of the ordinary.
Did you hear any screams or struggle?
No.
So the man comes out and says, you and Fabian got a mess to clean up, right?
Right.
Well, what mess? There wasn't any blood or anything if you're choked to death. Right? There wasn't a mess, really.
No, a mess. How I took it was a body.
Okay,
That's a mess.
the body. Now, you've testified that one of the reasons you kept quiet was because you didn't want him to kill your family, your children. Remember saying that?
Yes.
How did he know you had children if he doesn't even know who you are?
I don't know. Maybe he just made the idle threat.
How did he know where your children live?
I didn't know that at the time because at the time I was at Michelle's. I didn't know if he did actually know. If you have a threat like that and there's a dead body, you're gonna take that threat serious, wouldn't you?
Now, you saw outside that the man wasn't around first before you saw her body and took her pulse. That's your testimony, correct?
Correct.
Why didn't you call 911?
Because I was afraid and I was already threatened and I wanted to wait until Fabian got there. What could I do?
How about your mom? Couldn't you have tell your mom to be careful that
At
this man's
the
coming
time,
after you?
I thought it was the best way is just to wait until Fabian got there.
I mean, most people see a young girl, they'd scream. Did you scream?
No,
Did you give her CPR?
no. I don't actually want to touch her. I got scared because she was already blue.
She was already blue. How many minutes from when you last saw him go in there till when you saw her there?
Just a couple of minutes.
So wouldn't you, if you're not going to give CPR, wouldn't you bring her out on the balcony at the front, out past the front door and help, help, she's not breathing.
Not with the threat that I was given.
There wasn't anybody there. He'd gone, you said.
How do I actually know that?
Because you looked outside and he's not there, right?
Yeah, but at the time still I wasn't in my right state of mind.
Now, nobody else saw him either, did they?
No,
There were 4 kids on scooters and people, grocery and adults, and somebody parked in their car. Nobody saw this man come or go, did they?
oh, I don't know that.
Well, in the papers you read, did they find anybody that...
Objection, Your Honor.
6A. You're safe.
there
Make
was
sure
a-
you use the microphone.
Sorry.
Let me show you one thing. Did you keep the television, and I'm going to show you Exhibit B here. Did you keep that television on all night so that Fabian and Michelle wouldn't know what had happened and what you were going to do?
No.
Did you keep the television on?
I believe I kept it on with no volume.
No volume is your testimony, huh? You didn't have it on so that, because you were worried that they might hear something?
No. Honestly, I don't even remember messing with the TV.
Now, your testimony, as I understand it, is you told Fabian pretty much right away, right?
Yes.
Now, did you throw her school clothes, which I'm showing you Exhibit 40, did you throw her school clothes in the trash?
No.
You didn't put it into Exhibit 35?
No.
Because whoever did that must have been pretty angry at her to put her favorite school clothes, the clothes she wore on her birthday, into the trash, right?
Right.
The unknown man, he didn't throw that in the trash, did he?
No.
And you don't know how it got in there.
No.
I'm wondering if somebody wanted to get rid of the clothes that she was wearing because it might show DNA during the struggle. Do you think that was a thought?
No.
No? Because after all, the man didn't throw the clothes in the trash, so he might have left DNA if he struggled with her before she died, right? You don't know. How about yourself? Would you have had any DNA on her clothes?
No, because I didn't do nothing to her.
You didn't do nothing, so there was nothing to hide for you, right?
No.
Fabian, too, he wasn't there when this happened, right?
Right.
When did you change her clothes from her pink top and pink pajama bottoms to a different set of clothes?
I didn't change her.
Well, do you remember saying in your task bar, page 98, that I put her
Which date?
shirt, page 98, morning?
Which, the 22nd?
Yes, line 24.
I'm going to object to improper impeachment. I'm going to object to improper impeachment, Judge.
Pajamas back on. Is that what you had said earlier today?
Yes.
And you said earlier I put her shirt back on. Is that the same thing that you're talking about?
I said I put her clothes back on.
Okay, her clothes. But isn't it true her pink pajamas are missing?
I don't know.
You don't know. Well, you know about the garbage bags that were underneath her body before she was dismembered, right?
While she was being dismembered, yes.
And there was a lot of blood. All of her blood was on those bags and the clothes that she had?
No.
That were on the ground?
No. It was just on the bags and on carpet.
Well, you threw some, you threw things on the ground, didn't you? Like 151?
Yes, I emptied a basket.
And didn't you clear out her closet, ripping clothes off the hangers to make a nice pile of clothes?
No.
No. And didn't you get rid of the pink pajamas and bloody clothes? Didn't you drive away in Michelle's car and look for a place to get rid of it?
No. I never drove Michelle's car. And I never got rid of no bloody clothes.
You had her keys.
After the fact,
What fact?
after everything happened, I got the keys off the door thing when I was going to leave at the end of that night. Right before the police showed up.
You know, everything that you had, everything that was done, you said Fabian did all of that to her because he didn't want it to look like you guys were involved. Do you remember that?
Yes.
But isn't the truth, you did all of that because she was too heavy to carry?
No.
One person couldn't carry her, right?
Actually, one person could.
Well, you tried and you only got 2 steps down and you almost dropped her, didn't you?
Yes.
Because she was too heavy for you to carry.
Yes.
So one person needed to lighten the load, didn't they?
No.
And you don't know what happened to her pink pajamas. They just disappeared as far as you know.
As far as I know, she was wearing them.
Now, you brought the body outside. Do you remember that?
Yes.
You wrapped up Victoria and you did not talk to her. She was already dead, correct?
Correct.
And did the stranger tell you to bring her body outside?
No.
You did this all by yourself. Fabian didn't suggest that you bring the body outside, did he?
No, he didn't even know she was deceased at the time.
Right, you did this yourself then, right?
Right.
This was your thought, right?
Right.
Why did you bring the body outside? Weren't you trying to get rid of it?
Well, that's what the man told me to do, but I was waiting for Fabian. Being that they pulled up, I was going to just run out to the car and leave with him.
Run out to the car.
But then I second thought it because I didn't know if that guy was still out there.
Okay, so you were going to take the body down the steps, get in the car. Did you even know they were outside when you came out?
That's the reason why I went out there, because I heard the car radio, and I looked and I seen them outside.
All right, so there's Fabian and her, and they're playing music and acting crazy down in the car, right? And you're going to bring the body out in public there were kids out there, right?
Yes.
And there was, I think, a woman passing by you into the other apartment with her groceries. Do you remember her?
No.
Do you remember cars parked and people?
Yes.
And so you were going to take this body and put it in the car, and then what you were going to do? Now, Michelle was in there with him, right?
Yes.
And you were going to say, what? Oh, by the way, this man killed her.
Yes.
But you turned around, and did you smile at Michelle like she was asleep?
No.
Do you remember telling Michelle after they came up that she was asleep?
No.
You don't remember Michelle telling you, well, that's good, 8 o'clock's a bedtime.
Objection, hearsay.
Receive question, please. I'm not going to see it.
O'clock is her bedtime, it was close to 8 o'clock. You don't remember that?
No, because it never happened.
It never happened. And did Victoria have a headache earlier in that day?
No.
Well, you knew she had a big day. The next day was going to be their celebration of her birthday, right?
No.
You didn't know that?
No.
I thought you had recommended to people that they maybe buy makeup for her birthday party.
For her birthday, not her birthday party.
Okay, for her birthday. And you remember she was too heavy for you to carry, right?
Right.
So you were going to go downstairs and tell them, and then you turned around. Why didn't you tell Michelle when she came in the door?
So I thought that earlier. I didn't want a big old situation that turned ugly.
Well, wouldn't there have been a big old situation that turned ugly when you brought the body into the car and
It was
over there?
an ugly situation from the jump. I just didn't want to react it in a way that would cause more harm to anybody.
What kind of harm? I mean, not to Victoria. She was dead, right?
Right.
Were you still worried about this man coming, or what was the
Yes, I
harm?
was still worried about that man coming.
So you didn't tell Michelle that her daughter was murdered because you were afraid that the man would come.
I was afraid, period. I've never been in a situation like this, and I thought I was doing the best thing at the time. Now I look back, it was a wrong decision, but I can't go and fix it.
And you can't fix the 2 years it took for everyone else to figure out that Victoria was already dead when you brought her outside, right?
Can you rephrase that?
You knew that Fabian and Michelle were charged with her murder, and you didn't give your statement to your full confession for 2 years, right?
Right.
It wasn't until the police figured out that she was dead before you all went into the door and closed the door. That was the first change in the case, right?
No. Well, honestly, I don't know what changed in the case or whenever,
Right.
but all I know is from the jump, the story was wrong, and lies have been made, and it wasn't made by me. When I gave my statement matched the facts.
Matched the facts to a T, didn't it?
Not to a T, but it made everything's okay.
So as I understand it, you told Fabian right away that she's dead. And you told him about the man too, didn't you?
Yes.
And your story is Fabian said he didn't know what that was about, did he? He didn't know why a stranger would kill Victoria.
Right.
Isn't this whole story about it's Fabian's fault just a way for you to share the burdens of somebody else is to blame, not you?
No.
Do you remember Detective Lewis asking you if Fabian didn't know why that man did it? Why doesn't Fabian just leave? I mean, what's his motive to help you do the things that were done to this child if he didn't know any reason, if he didn't cause or permit it, he didn't know why? Why would Fabian help you like that? Do you remember being asked a question like that?
No.
Do you remember in your AM statement to Detective Lewis, do you remember him asking this question to you? Help me understand why, if Fabian doesn't know what he did, and he's obviously not involved in the death of the little girl because he's not there, that portion of it, why doesn't he just leave if he doesn't know what he did? Do you remember being asked that question?
I believe so.
What was your answer?
Honestly, I don't remember.
Did you say, I don't know? You couldn't really come up with a reason why he would do this with you, could you?
No.
And the detective asked you to explain what was this retaliation. The only thing you could come up with...
Objection, Your Honor. I object, Your Honor. Can we ask her a question versus just telling her what happened?
I'll rephrase.
Okay, sustained.
Did you tell the officer it was this chaos thing and everywhere he goes and brags and basically you put it on the fight with Amanda?
I didn't put it on the fight of Amanda, but that could have been the cause. They asked, what would you think about what could have happened? I said, if it could have been the cause, I really don't know. I don't know how many enemies he makes. I don't know. I don't know who this man is.
And you weren't expecting anything bad to happen other than maybe Sinner, right?
I knew that wasn't going to happen.
Okay. So there really was no reason to keep the door ajar, was there?
I was in a paranoid state, sir. I get like that when I get high.
Okay. Now when exactly, I'm a little confused, when did Michelle find out that her child was dead?
When I confronted her and I hit her with the iron.
Okay, so I thought the reason you hit her with the iron is because she didn't really care if her daughter was alive or dead, right?
Yes.
But she didn't know until 9 hours later when you come in there with the iron in your hand. She didn't know that.
I don't know if she did not know. But to my opinion, I think she didn't know until I confronted her.
All right, so, and we don't know what's in her brain, but in your mind, you're saying she still doesn't know, right? And yet you're walking in there with this iron.
No.
And didn't you find the iron right next to where you found the sheet that you wrapped up the child in?
Yes.
I'm not quite sure why you wanted Michelle dead if she didn't know.
I didn't know if she did not know.
I know you don't know what she knew, but you thought she didn't know, right?
I thought she did know, and then I confronted her, and then that's when I figured out she didn't know.
She did, you said. I couldn't hear you there. Could you say that again?
She didn't know.
She did not know. Okay. So, I must have gotten it backwards. You figured she must know, and that's why you were going to kill her.
Yes. Well, no, I wasn't going to kill her because of that. I was going to kill everybody because I'm going to prison anyways. Might as well go down for a murder that I committed.
And in fact, the reason you wanted to kill Fabian and Michelle is because you didn't want to leave any witnesses to what you had done, right?
Correct.
And I got a little ahead of myself. Let's see some of the things that you're doing. Who's
Can I get
looking
this
at
water?
55? Who took the trash bags out of that container there? Is that where you got the trash bags, where you put it, where somebody put everything in?
Actually, I didn't get the trash bag, sir.
Well, why are only your fingerprints on the trash bags?
Objection, Your Honor. Objection, Your Honor, that's a mischaracterization of the evidence.
This over here. Why did it have only your fingerprints on it?
Because my stuff was actually in Matthew's room, and when I went running in there to get stuff, I grabbed the trash bag so I could grab some stuff, but I just ended up throwing it there, and I grabbed my purse to leave.
And can you explain for us why Fabian's fingerprints were not found on it?
Objection, Your Honor, same objection, because
You can call for speculation.
All right, I'll move on. Let me ask you, who cleaned up that bowl?
I did.
And that's Exhibit 43. Who cleaned the knives?
I didn't.
You did not,
I did
in your
not.
testimony, right?
Right.
Did you tell the officer that you were the one that cleaned the knives?
No.
Let's check the mic a little bit more. You want it higher up?
Right here.
Up a little more?
Here.
How's that?
Just keep sliding down.
Yeah, I know, we have to keep adjusting it.
Like right here.
So, yeah.
Right here.
So do you want it clipped on here? So, we could have,
Want me to put it right here?
yeah, I'm gonna have it in a second.
Okay.
We're gonna go about 15 more minutes.
It's just weighing it down. Is it right in the middle?
Yeah. start.
Do you want to test it? Can you hear me?
Very good. Do you remember September 6th a.m., page 157, line 21? Do you remember Detective Lewis saying, okay, and you know what happened to those knives?
objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
Are you repeating?
I am.
Okay, continue.
Okay, and you know what happened to those knives? They got washed and put back. And okay. And then he asks, do you know who washed them and put them back? Do you remember that question?
No.
And do you remember your answer, I did?
No.
Showing you 25, who put things in the washing machine? Was that you?
Actually, it was me. I was washing laundry that day when I was there, and then after the fight, there was blood all over the floor, so I grabbed the rag and wiped some of the blood off the floor, and I threw it in the washer.
All right. Did you use this broom?
No,
For
I did
anything?
not. No.
That had nothing to do with the case, right? Of that day,
I
to
don't-
your knowledge.
To my knowledge, no.
All right. That was outside in the back porch. Do you remember it?
No.
How about this rag? Did this have anything to do with it, showing you 107?
Actually, I think that might have been the rag, not the one in the wash. That was the one from me and mine and Michelle's fight.
That was from your fight with Michelle,
Yes.
and there's some blood on it.
Yes.
But that was her blood, right?
Yes.
But we'll get to that. Who turned on all the electric burners in Exhibit 30?
I believe I did.
Why?
I was trying to start a fire.
All right. You wanted to burn the house down, right?
Yeah.
Now, did the stranger, did he tell you to burn the house down?
No, he didn't.
Did Fabian tell you?
No.
How about Michelle?
How about nobody did? I did it on my own.
You did it on your own, and in fact, they were already gone when you were doing some of this, huh?
That's when Michelle left. That's when I started the fire.
Now, there was, I think I saw it in another picture, but there was this orange laundry basket. Do you remember Exhibit 81?
Yes, I do.
And here's a better, farther away shot. Exhibit 25. First of all, did you hit Michelle with that picture frame before, after the iron?
No, I believe that fell off the shelf.
Okay, you don't remember hitting her with it or anything?
No.
And this orange thing, how did it get in the middle of that room there?
I believe I put it there.
All right, you put it there. And how did the body parts, and looks like there's 1 or 2 socks looking at 86 and 92. How did that get into the orange thing?
I have no idea.
And in fact, your fingerprints were on the orange bag, weren't they?
No, objection, Your Honor. Mischaracterization.
I'll move on.
Can we withdraw that?
So that question will be struck and not considered in any way by the jury.
Thank you, Judge. Did you put is that your purse in the orange bag?
It's a bag that I carry a lot of my paperwork in.
Okay. And as I understand your testimony, the police planted that in Exhibit 81, didn't they?
I have this one.
You want to just hold in front of your mouth for the next couple minutes?
Okay.
Please, thank you.
Can you restate that, please?
How did that bag with your personal items in it get into the orange laundry basket in the middle of the room?
In my opinion, I thought the cops planted it there. I believe the cops manufactured a lot of evidence in this case, and I believe that was part of it, because that bag was in Matthew's closet, and why would I put my personal papers with that? That just don't make no sense.
That's not, your testimony is that orange clothes, that orange container, whatever it's called, the basket, it wasn't in the living room area, and your purse was not in the middle of it when you left and jumped the balcony.
No, I said I placed the orange basket by the door for when we were leaving with the body. I would take that out, but my bag was not in there.
So you don't know how the bag or the sock or anything got in there. You didn't put them in there.
No, I didn't.
That's your
And
testimony.
I know Fabian didn't either.
Now looking at 147, who removed the smoke alarms? Did the cops remove them after you left, or did you take those off of the ceiling?
I took those off of the ceiling.
And that's because your plan was to kill the witnesses and burn the house down, right?
Correct.
But I thought you and Fabian were working together on this thing.
We were.
But it changed from working together to killing you. How did that happen?
At the end, I really didn't care anymore. I was so scared. I didn't want to deal with it, and that was my best way of dealing with it. I thought I could actually go through with it, but I couldn't.
Well, you kind of went through with it, didn't you?
No. How did I kind of go through it?
Well, let me show you. Well,
Objection.
I apologize, that hasn't been admitted yet. Let me show you Exhibit D. Is this how she looked when you hit her with the iron?
I believe so.
We moved D into evidence.
No objection.
D will be admitted.
So if I may publish, when you say you didn't go through with the murder, I mean, nobody else besides Victoria died, but you certainly started hitting her at least once, maybe more, with an iron, right?
I hit her once with the iron.
And you don't remember hitting Fabian, right?
I didn't hit
You
Fabian.
did not hit him. He wouldn't have any marks on his body that looked like an iron, right?
No.
Because you never hit him with the iron,
He
right?
took the iron away from me.
Before you hit him, is what you're saying.
No, he took it while I was swinging it on Michelle.
Okay, so you never attacked Fabian.
No,
After all, he was your buddy, right? I
he's not my
you-
buddy, he's my cousin.
Well, your cousin, but I mean, the two of you are working together that night.
No matter what, I'm going to have my cousin's back.
Right, so there's no way you would have attacked him.
No,
And when you hit somebody with an iron on the head, that's a kill shot, isn't it?
no,
Well, it could be, huh?
well, no,
That's what you wanted to have happen, right?
no.
You didn't want to kill Michelle when you hit her on the head?
I hit her on the head, but I didn't believe that the iron will actually kill her with one hit.
Okay, so you weren't trying to hurt her, is what you're saying.
No, I was trying to hurt her.
You were trying to kill her because you didn't want to leave any witnesses. right?
Yes.
Now, there's 2 nightstands in the master bedroom showing you 114. Isn't that true?
Yes.
And there's some chargers on each side where you can charge a cell phone while you're sleeping at night, right?
Right.
And you, showing you 91, you took those cell phones, even before you came in with the iron, you took their cell phones and you had them, you were going to leave with them, right?
Yes.
So you were kind of planning your escape from that apartment, weren't you?
Yes.
I think you already said, but you put the methamphetamine that you had in your bra, didn't you?
Into my mouth.
Oh, into your mouth, all right. You put Fabian's wallet in your bra.
Yes.
And when you went outside, did the wallet showing you Exhibit E as an echo, did the wallet drop when the officers arrested you?
Yes, it must have.
Because you had put it in your bra before you jumped off the balcony, but it wasn't there when you were processed later on, right?
Well, I knew it fell out when they slammed me on the floor, so it must have fell out.
And some other things fell out too, showing you Exhibit 11.
Objection, Your Honor. May we approach?
I'll withdraw. Just to try to keep moving. Judge, would this be a good point?
Sure, we can wait here. All right, we're going to break for today. We'll be back